Everybody Hates Rand is a Wheel of Time podcast that will contain spoilers for all 14 books. So if you're anti-spoiler, pause this, read all 14 books, and come back. We'll be here, waiting.
Our title is a joke and is meant to be taken as such. In the context of this podcast, everybody refers to us and our cat. You are free to feel however you want about Rand, who is a fictional character. Don't DM us.
The world is a mess, Dark One stretching out his hand. The dragon's reborn, the fire's been fanned, but everybody hates Rand. Everybody hates Rand. Everybody hates Rand.
Crank that!
Crank that.
Crank that.
T-Pain.
In the Air by Crank That, featuring T-Pain. Stream it on Spotify.
Was it part of an album, or was it just a single?
I don't know if he ever had an album. I think that was just a single. I think T-Pain, according to what Elise said, T-Pain recorded, 12 singles that day in the studio with, a bunch of different DJs, and Crank That just happened to be one of them.
What a fascinating
and
life it would be.
T-Pain said that the one he recorded with Cranked Out was his favorite, so...
I bet he said that to everyone.
Yeah.
T-Pain, just a polite,
polite
gentleman.
Boy.
I was on the phone with my mom while you were getting a cookie from your mom.
She sent 2 cookies.
Oh, cutie.
So if you want one, or we can split them.
Anyway, I was on the phone with my mom. She called me while she was on her way to Chick-fil-A. And then she was still... She just leapt up and bit my jacket. You asshole.
Oh, Tibble.
I was still on the phone with her while she was in the drive-thru at Chick-fil-A. And I had to listen while she was like, just a second, I have to place my order. And I hear the girl say, hi, welcome to Chick-fil-A, what can I get you? Right as my mom takes a sip of water wrong and starts coughing so badly.
Oh no, the poor Chick-fil-A girl.
Exactly. My mom was like, oh my gosh, I feel so bad. She'll think I'm ill and that I came to Chick-fil-A anyway. I was like, and she couldn't talk. She was like, I swallowed wrong. To the girl who was probably just get away from me.
Yeah,
I don't want to be here.
Will you just order your fucking chicken sandwich and leave?
And your chicken wrap for fucking Chris. This is Everybody Hates Rand, your friendly neighborhood Wheel of Time podcast. I'm Emily Jushaw.
That's Tibble.
Yeah, crunching.
Eating really loudly. And I'm Sally Goodcher.
And here we are to talk about 2 of the worst chapters in The Fires of Heaven, unfortunately.
I didn't read them.
And God, I wish that were me too. It was so bad.
In my defense, it wasn't I I don't want to read them, which I didn't.
I mean, yeah.
But it was
reasonable.
It was I don't want to stare at this tiny print when my head hurts.
That
but then
really is so tiny.
I know, it's Tor.com.
It's I'll open I read a book meant for, children or young teens or whatever this week. Mm-hmm. Howl's Moving Castle. Delightful book. Love you, Diana Wynne Jones. But it was the text was so reasonably sized. And I was like, am I becoming... What's happening?
Becoming an old person?
Am I old? I also have heartburn. Am I...
Fat mood.
Yeah. What's the
I think
deal?
That's the apocalypse anxiety, the heartburn.
Is it?
The eyeballs might be that we're just getting old. But it's every time I open a Wheel of Time book, it takes me a full minute to adjust to being able to read the print.
Yeah.
And I'm Tor.com, I know this is the longest book ever written, but you could have printed it on slightly bigger pages with slightly bigger type.
Well, even, we have a couple copies of, we have Eye of the World and is it
The
Great
Hunt?
And those are, bigger in terms of area size of the covers, but the text is still teeny. The margins are just huge.
Which makes them great for graffiti purposes.
Yeah, that's awesome. Awesome part of it. I haven't had to cram my writing
Yeah.
into margins like I usually
And,
do.
like, my writing is already illegible, so rip to anybody who gets a normal wheelie-sized book who's like,
Huge mood.
who just, like, vomited ink on this page? That's me.
That should be something we do in a graffitied book. Just
Vomit in it?
not vomit. Pour ink.
Oh, break. I was like, what?
No,
That'd be a fun one. Break a pen, pour ink on it.
ruin the entire book.
Uh-huh.
Find a Gawain chapter and just that's the real benefit of getting to the later books when there are more Gawain points of view that
We can just rip them out.
It's like on principle I don't want to rip pages out of books,
Yeah.
but then it's like Gawain, and also
I
on principle
do-
I don't want Gawain to be
Yeah.
alive.
I do have just, like, some black paint somewhere from when I painted that, so we could just paint the whole chapters.
Oh, I see you've dug a hole in your food dish. Little excavator.
Tybalt will not eat anywhere except the center of his bowl. Because he is the weirdest animal, and he makes me crazy.
My nephew, who's obsessed with trucks, of course, knows all of the names for, like, construction vehicles, including, like, excavator, digger,
Nice.
complicated words that, not digger, excavator, bulldozer. And yesterday, my sister sent us a video of him being read his bedtime book, which is literally just a book called, like, 101 Things That Go.
Cool.
And his dad opened the book, and Jack immediately said, "Look at that rickshaw." What?
Oh my god.
2-year-old knows what a rickshaw is.
I love him. He's so smart.
Well, I mean, he's single-minded is the real deal. Tybalt?
Now he's got to do a poo. Okay,
Oh, I long for the sweet. We didn't even say, this is the 30-day mark?
yeah, I think it's 31.
It's the 1 month mark, and everyone's
I've
feeling
lost
it.
count.
Every podcast I listen to that's been published this week has been like, wow, so it's been a month, right?
Yeah.
It's been a month. You can really, really feel it. And it's fitting, of course, that we got an update on Swan Sanche and Gareth Bryn,
Barf.
whose romance, frankly, makes some of the relationships I've seen on The Bachelor look good. Mm-hmm. I mean, come on. The first chapter is a Swan point of view. Well, then it's a Min point of view at the end. But it involves them getting to, how do you think it's pronounced? Lugard or Lugard?
I've always said Lugard, but Lugard is funnier.
Lugard. What rhymes with Lugard?
Sluggard.
Oh, good one.
Druggard. Druggard's not a word.
It feels like it should be, though, you know?
Like drunkard.
Drunkard mixed with a drug addict.
Yeah, druggard.
A druggard.
Sluggard.
Buggard.
Buggard.
Buggard and Lugard.
Jesus Christ. That's what happens at the 9-horse hitch.
Apparently.
Or a good night's ride, or whatever the
Man,
fuck.
this book sent me on, like, a spiral of trying to figure out what the 9-horse hitch fucking means.
Yeah.
Even though that's not the one that is really implied. I mean, it's a little bit implied to have a suggestive name.
Mm-hmm.
So I was like, what the fuck does this mean? And apparently, Robert Jordan, when he was alive, people would ask him this question all the time. What the fuck were you talking about with the 9-horse hitch? And Robert Jordan would just be like, when you're older, you'll understand. Which is a fancy way of saying that it means nothing. He made it up, and, you know, reader imagination is more powerful than any explicit thing that an author could do. But some people had some interesting theories.
Tell me about him.
One thought it was just a play on words, the 9 whores hitch instead of horse. You know, so, like, whatever that could possibly mean. Someone was like, let's look at the verb hitch in the dictionary, and it just, like, compared it to intercourse, and it was all just very, very weird. Basically, it doesn't mean anything, though. There was also a lot of argument this was all in a thread on dragonmount.com of people chatting with each other and getting very angry with each other about the, like, drawing and quartering execution method, which would occasionally involve horses.
What?
Did you not know about this?
No, why are they fighting about the drawing and quartering
Because someone was
method?
like, it's the 9-horse, someone was like, what's the 9-horse hitch? And someone was like, I think it's referring to drawing and quartering, which was, like, in France. And someone else was like, no, it was in China, you bastard. And it just, like, escalated from there.
Yes, I do know about drawing and quartering. I'm not a total idiot.
Like, who's the, Mel Gibson, that movie? Freedom!
Braveheart?
Braveheart, yeah. Sorry, I just went on a little thought spiral of Braveheart equals Dragonheart equals,
Sean Connery equals wildlife conservation.
Yeah. All the way back to Tiger King. We're back where we began. Get away! Get away!
Where is he?
Another text to add to that curriculum, Jurassic Park.
Okay, which I have not seen. So we'll watch it.
It's a good one,
and
I think, it's, it's just fascinating to think about in relation to these other texts.
Yeah.
Anyway,
EHR is going to start putting together curriculums. I was thinking about that today.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, because I was, like, thinking about the Tiger King, unfortunately. And then I was like, I've read some interesting stuff through my work at the aviary. That would be, like, an interesting...
That would be cool.
Compliment. Anyway.
You'd be good at that.
Let us know if you're interested.
EHR teaches masterclass. Look on YouTube. It's always, like, Neil Gaiman being like, you want to learn how to write? Fuck you. Hey,
you're terrible at it. The only person who's good at writing, apparently, is Neil Gaiman.
Anyway, Swan, Min, Leanne, and Loghain all get to Lugard or Lugard, depending.
Lugard.
This is, I believe, the single time that we are ever in this city. So the extravagant descriptions feel a little bit unnecessary because it's not like I'll ever be utilizing them in my mind's eye ever again.
Yeah.
This actually made me think about how this is the last book that really feels like there's a lot of continental exploration. From this point on in the series. It's like, I think the only major setting that gets introduced. Yeah, I think the next new setting is like Ebu Dar. Because we've been to Cairhien before, we've been to Camelin before, which are the places that Rand and Perrin are hanging out in. Obviously we'll get to Salidar in this book, and that's kind of a setting for a while. But it's like so much of the book compresses to this, this section of the continent comparable to the Midwest in the United States, where it's just the middle of the continent, and it seems like there's not much around. It's like that wasteland where so many things have already happened. Perrin bonded with the wolves and whatever. And now that's going to be where Fael gets kidnapped, and Perrin has to pursue that plot. And the girls have to travel back to Camelin with the Bowl of the Winds, and Matt has to wage guerrilla warfare on the Shanshin.
Cool.
Not exactly, but it's like, for a book with so many possible settings, it feels like at some point in the series, Robert Jordan just got super bogged down by where all his characters were, and ironically, because teleporting is invented at around the same time, everyone's movements just suddenly decrease. So, just a weird thought. Nothing happens in Murundi. I don't know why it is here. I don't know what's the point of it. King Rodrin, whatever his name is, he comes to the fantasy UN meeting at the beginning of book 14, when all the rulers get together and are like, what should we do about Tarman Gaiden? And Rand's like, I know, I have the perfect solution. Turn your armies over to Elaine. And everyone's like, yeah, that sounds fine.
Every time you say it, it's like my heart has cracked further.
Yeah, that's the source of my heartburn, actually, is about Elaine in charge of all these armies. And there's a perfectly good boy right over there.
And you could just teleport and get him.
Ah!
I know we had this conversation literally last week.
We have it every week because I'm still screaming about it every time I think about it.
It's just very stupid.
Yeah. Anyway, Rodrin's there just to be a present talking character. And I'm like, what is the point when we have had so many other rulers introduced who are now also in the same space? Why give this guy who's been a background character now the room to talk? It's just you don't need all your characters to be fleshed out. And in fact, you should delete some of your characters.
There are so many, Robert Jordan.
You could delete entire countries and that would be fine.
Yeah, Burundi could go away.
Burundi is nothing.
Like, rip to Burundi.
Isn't Burundi where Lugard got his start?
Hey, maybe. I don't know. I think so.
I was thinking about that because Gareth Bryn tells some story about, like, 3 years ago, Swan was, like, making the rounds, bullying all the rulers in this part of the continent, and was like, I don't want you to patrol the Morandian border anymore, or something like that.
Oh, yeah.
And, you know, yells at Gareth Bryn about it, and that's what he remembers about it, but I was like, that would have been about the same time that Lugard started cropping up, and then I started thinking about how Swan goes to Salidar and is like, Lugard, we can something about propaganda by, like, convincing everyone that the Red Ajah, like, manipulated all of the various false dragons.
Yeah.
I don't know if any of that means anything or if I'm reading too much into a text that always makes me feel like I should be reading more into it, but...
Yeah, I don't know.
I don't either. Anyway, group gets to Lugard, they stop at an inn. Swan immediately is like, I have to go distract Lugard. Min and Leanne are like, we hate you, but she goes. She makes her way through the city, which, the descriptors of which are mostly that women are in skirts that are above their ankles, which is, like, cool.
Scandalous.
Ankles be fly, and that men are catcalling women relentlessly.
What a fun city.
Yeah, it's pretty terrible, and of course you can tell it was written by a man, because at one point Swan realizes she's being, like, catcalled, and just, like, doesn't react to it, and in fact is like, I should probably feel flattered. But, you know, I just can't, like, apply those to myself because I'm still not used to looking this young and beautiful. And then goes off on a monologue about how, hey, now that she's younger, she's actually prettier than she was when she was this age to begin with.
Wow.
I know.
There's so much to unpack there.
Peel back the layers.
How even?
How even?
I have only been, luckily, catcalled a handful of times in my life. All in New York City.
Oh, yeah, New York.
Fascinating.
Is where it's at.
Place. And every time, I was, like, never brave enough to, like, yell at any of the catcallers, unlike Emily, because I am a baby.
You never yelled at a catcaller?
Didn't you? I'm pretty sure you, like, yelled fuck off at someone one time.
Oh, that was a guy who called me a dyke.
Oh. Well, fuck him.
Like, that was hate speech. I mean, catcalling's no good, but it doesn't evoke the same level of...
Yeah. But, like, so even if I don't, verbally respond, I literally feel like my skin is crawling off of my body. So,
you just
like,
want to, like, curl up and die.
It is not realistic for someone, even if they happen to be the once Pope, to feel...
The once and future Pope?
Yeah, the once and future Pope. To feel completely unaffected by someone commenting on your body in, like, in a sexually explicit way in a public space.
Yeah.
It's horrible.
Like, ugh. It all just... I hate, like, don't get me wrong, I hate being the person who does this constantly, accusing Robert Jordan of fetishizing really weird things.
Mm-hmm.
But there are every time a scene has sexual undertones, the gratification of those sexual undertones is so clearly targeted at someone that is not me, or even really anyone that I know, that it feels like some weird kink.
Yeah.
Like, you know.
Yeah, and I, like, that's definitely, like, could be one thing going on here, but I also think it's just, like, indicative of how vast the chasm is between, like, men's understanding of the way that women experience sexuality and, like, walk through the world as sexual beings. Because I think that, like, the female, or just basically anyone who's not, like, a cis, straight, white dude, like, the way that they experience sexuality has, like, so many different layers, and, like, so much of it is impacted by the way that you feel safe or unsafe in the world, because your body is somehow always then targeted, and your sexuality always exists either as, like, a joke a way to be violent or, like, a weapon. Like, it's never just something you're allowed to have. I'm, like, losing myself in how angry I'm getting about how Robert Jordan has no clue.
It's been a while since we did this.
Yeah. Because, yeah, just like your comment, like, it feels like it is very much not for me. Like, there is nothing in any, like, sexually charged scene in The Wheel of Time that makes me feel like, yeah, this is a situation that I would be hella turned on by.
It's not titillating.
Yeah, especially, like, just, like, it's very alienating for, like, any queer person.
Oh, yeah.
But particularly queer women, because it's, like, that concept just doesn't exist, apparently, in The Wheel of Time, unless you are a villain.
Or someone who went to boarding school and it's being infantilized in that particular package.
Yeah, we have had that conversation too. So yeah, it's just like, and also like in the terms of like male gratification, like one of the more interesting, I might have talked about this on this podcast, but like one of the more like interesting like thought experiments posed to me by one of my professors in college was like, what do you think is happening when like a woman is happy that she's been catcalled? And because she's like, I know, she's like, I've had friends say to me, like, sometimes it's nice to be catcalled. And she's like, but if you, like, really unpack that, it's like what's happening is that you are happy to be an object. So that just means, like, the patriarchy is working on you on a different level. Mm-hmm. Like, you are happy to be recognized for your sexual viability.
Right.
Rather than as, like, a human being. So she's like, be very cautious whenever you're like, oh, I wish someone would catcall me. So it's like, I think there's this, like, male fantasy that, like, of course there's this male fantasy. Everyone's like, I'm giving you a compliment.
Yeah, there's a male fantasy that women, when they move through the world, want to be paid attention to.
Yeah.
Which isn't necessarily the case, but it's a fantasy that men have built up that women are. I was just transcribing an episode where we talked all about how a lot of Rand's perceptions of women as manipulators comes directly from Lanfear, and how, like, incredibly she manipulates him at the beginning, and how unclear it is in the text that he's being manipulated because we're not able to see it from an outside perspective. But it just makes me think about how men also have this skewed perspective that women specifically want attention.
Yeah.
And that's something that women are villainized for desiring. You're an attention, quote-unquote, whore. Mm-hmm. But also you're expected to want it.
Yeah, it's one of those classic double standards.
Oh, yeah, hey, what's that?
That, yeah.
My brother is, like, dating someone. Totally fine. But someone asked, I cannot remember who, it was probably at a big family gathering. Someone was like, oh, yeah, I met her and she seems really low maintenance. And I was like, that's such a terrible term to apply to someone. We are all high maintenance in our own ways.
Yeah.
Because we're all people.
Yeah.
And also we're not cars.
You know? It's not maintenance. It's just being a fucking person.
And having needs.
Yeah.
And if one of your needs is attention, fine, as long as it's not toxifying your relationship.
Yeah.
As long as you're still a good person. Like.
Yeah. On this front, I would really recommend reading the 7 Necessary Sins for Women and Girls by Mona Elfawi. I always feel like I'm saying her name wrong. Where she, like, unpacks this, especially about attention, in, like, great detail. So, be it interesting. Yeah, it's very about just, like, one of her necessary sins for women and girls is attention. She's like, you should have every right to want attention. And that's something she talks about, the concept of being called attention whores.
You should also have the right to want a specific kind of attention.
Yeah.
And to, be biased against other types of attention.
Yeah.
Objectifying attention isn't an attention.
No.
That anyone wants.
Yeah, so there's just this, like, incredibly skewed view here where, like, it's like Robert Jordan cannot imagine a situation in which, like, you are, like, the sexual prey in, like, a way that isn't necessarily, like, overt, in a way that's, like, not aggressive. Like, anybody can imagine being, like, I don't know, raped. I mean, you hope people can imagine how horrible that would be, but it's like, just like cannot grasp the concept that there are forms of attention that are still predatory, even if they're not like, I don't know, cross some imaginary line.
Yeah, and it becomes all the more upsetting when you intersect it with Matt, and Matt getting this attention that he doesn't want, and how it changes because Matt is our character who has been the most sexually open and about his desires and his sexuality and his wants, and having that redirected toward him in a predatory way. And I mean, I don't know, it's just so much. You get the sense that Robert Jordan is like trying to go somewhere and then getting sidetracked by something shiny, like a sex igloo or whatever, and just like veering off, forgetting what he was going to do. I mean, you at least want to give him that much credit, but it's also a Swan and Gareth back-to-back chapters, so it's Be Mad at Robert Jordan Day here at EHR.
Yeah, I know. I feel like we beat this horse to death regarding Robert Jordan and, like, women's sexuality, but it's just, like, a glaring offense in the text for me.
Well, I think it's fair because we're two female-identifying people, hosts, so it's like, if you want to understand Wheel of Time through the quote-unquote female perspective, this is what it is feeling victimized quite a bit.
Yeah.
Like, this whole scene where Swan goes into the inn called A Good Night's Ride, we find out later, and it's got, like, a lady on a horse or something. Like a naked lady on a horse.
Because that sounds really comfortable.
No, it sounds terrible. Your poor...
Yeah, your poor vagina.
Down under. Good night, Mike.
I hate you. I just hated everything about that. Criminal behavior.
Sorry, I'm just thinking about that time Daniel Radcliffe did a photo shoot naked on a horse.
Yeah, for Equus or whatever, his
play. What a wild ride.
Yeah, Daniel Radcliffe is like a funky little dude.
Oh, I really like him.
Yeah, he's just like, yes, I was Harry Potter, but I'm also going to do all this weird shit.
Be naked on a horse.
Yeah.
And it's like, you good?
You fine? He seems to be doing great.
He's like,
so.
I'm fine. I'm very well adjusted. And I'm like, all right.
Cool.
Good for you. Good for you, my man.
Yeah.
Anyway, Swan goes in there because she knows that this is where one of the Blue Aja agents works. The innkeeper sees her. It's a very, apparently, as we discover based on our like couple of other inn experiences, spelled with two N's. Excuse me. Experiences in inns in Lugard. This is a pretty common setup, is having a scantily clad woman, up on a table singing some sexually suggestive song while a bunch of dudes with what is the male population in Lugard doing?
Yeah.
Apparently either standing on the curb catcalling women or sitting in inns catcalling women.
So it's like,
it's the nightmare city.
Lovely group of men. Go find your husband there, ladies.
Yeah, wee.
Yeah.
We're gonna make tourist posters for all the cities.
Ooh, that'd be fun.
Lugard, go find your husband. Or don't.
Don't.
Find your husband and then murder him. Yeah. A great place to hide a body. Lugard.
A great place to find a man to kill. Lugard.
Anyway, Swan goes in there, tries to talk to the innkeeper, and of course this is coming directly after a scene in which Nynaeve did the exact same thing. So we know by Nynaeve's experience that when Swan is like, I could sing songs, and one of those songs has the word blue in it, that she's speaking some sort of code to tell this woman what she wants. But this innkeeper is like, oh, you want to sing? Show us your legs, and forces Swan to like hike her skirt up to her thighs or something. And then kind of drags her out of the room on the pretense of looking at her legs. What an odd pretense. To then talk to her. The point being that the entire scene is vastly uncomfortable for Swan, and if you are a reader who sympathizes with Swan in any way, perhaps because you have experienced something like this in having your body put on display, then it's terrible. It's
Yeah,
a
of course.
horrible thing to live in. So thanks a lot for that, Robert Jordan. But But Swan talks to this lady, is like, here's what's going on. The White Tower's hella broken. Aleda's in charge. And this lady's like, meh, too bad for Swan Sanche. And Swan's like, yes.
In fact, it is too bad for her.
I bet wherever she is, she's unhappy at this time.
But she's having a really shitty day.
I bet she's having a shit day, you know, you lady. I don't think this woman was ever even named. She's described as having red lips and, like, bottle-dyed red hair, which I'm like...
Cool.
I'm, like, picturing Dolly Parton, but red hair. Which I'm like, what?
Dolly Parton would never make someone show their legs against their will.
But, like,
don't do that to Dolly. Yeah, I give him the, like, really, like, beehive.
Yeah.
For the gods
So
kind of situation. God, I love Dolly Parton.
I think she's great.
Like they do in Dairy Girls, I'm going to frame a portrait of Dolly to go on our wall.
I told you, I did a game night with my cousins a few months ago before all this started. And my one cousin, who's very fun and knows all about whatever games are going on currently, brought some game called... now I can't remember what it was called. But it involved these little stuffed burritos. And they were like... It's such a complicated game. There's, like, cards, and you're, like, all passing cards around, and then there are these little stuffed burritos. And at some point, like, if you get a certain combination of cards, then you, like, say something, and like, two people pick up the burritos and throw them at each other. It's, like, becomes dodgeball very suddenly.
Okay, what?
It's a super weird game, but very fun. And including, there's, like, one... thing where you, like, have a duel. You, like, stand back to back and you're each holding a burrito and you, like, walk 3 steps and then turn around. So you're like, we gotta put on, like, cowboy music or something. So my little brother just Googled cowboy music and the song they came up was 9 to 5 by Dolly Parton.
Oh my god.
He was like, no, I don't like this. And I was like, no, don't change
Don't change Dolly.
This is the perfect cowboy music. As I'm having a standoff with my cousin and a stuffed burrito. I don't know, you guys.
It's really funny that it was like 9 to 5 and not like any of her other music that is more twangy.
9 to 5. I was like, what?
9 to 5 is one of her more like poppy songs. It's also a socialist anthem, so fuck capitalism.
We love a socialist queen.
Yeah.
That's why we love Tub Thumping by Chumbawamba.
Chumbawamba.
It's a commie song. Hell yeah. Anyway, Swan's like, I'm trying to deliver this message to the Aes Sedai, but I can't find them. And this woman is like, well, the only hint I can give you is Sally Dara. Sally Dara?
Who knows?
A name. It looks like the name of a woman. And it will very much confuse Nynaeve and Elaine later in this book, I believe. Or someone. Someone at one point gets confused by Sally Dara. But Swan immediately knows what she's talking about. She's like, yes, Sally Dar, the birthplace of some random Amerlin seat.
Yeah.
Whatever. She's like, great, thanks for the info. Heads out again.
Yeah.
Goes and meets Min and Leanne and Loghain, who are just chilling. She's like, let's get out. Gotta go. Because she, like, sees some white cloaks on the way. And, you know, you have to police your behavior so much with the white cloaks.
Yeah.
And she's like, I don't think I acted right, so now they're gonna be after me. And it's like, Jesus.
Yeah.
And Min, of course, is also having her usual, maybe I should have Leanne teach me how to do some flirting so that I can snag Rand. She's having the classic Sandy from Grease internal monologue. Do I change for a man?
No!
Because it's a man writing it. Of course, the eventual answer is yes.
No! Never change for men!
Men love it when you change, so why wouldn't you? It's all about them, after all. But they peace out, and then the next chapter is Gareth Bryn, as he arrives in Lugard with some random folks, and they sort of trail, you know, do some sleuthing, find out where these ladies have gone, and where they are potentially going, and also that some white cloaks are now after them, so, like, good call on that one, I guess, Swan, but also... The White Cloaks, do they just have nothing better to do?
I really don't think
They're
so.
a very industrious group of men, you know?
I mean, yeah, it's the wrong type of industrialism. Industrialism feels wrong.
Yeah,
that's
industrialization.
Anyway, like, it's the wrong type of energy, but they really are, like, quite zealous.
just zealous.
Overzealous.
I just feel like when you get a bunch of lads together in any sort of military getup, the goal is not going to be, let's find a witch and burn her.
Maybe it's like the police who have to meet their speeding ticket quota. Like, you have to bring in so many women accused of witchcraft per month.
But you're right.
Or you don't get...
You have to kill X number of dark friends
Yeah.
per year, or you get demoted or whatever.
Yeah. So they're just out there hunting whatever weird lead they can get.
That would make a lot of sense.
Yeah.
I hope Galad changes the system.
Or he's like, this...
I mean, I hope Galad disbands the entire Whitecloak
Yeah,
organization.
he burns it down from within. That would be a nice plot to give Galad, other than his collaboration with the fascist regime. But
I know.
you know.
Wouldn't it be nice?
Oh, wouldn't it be nice if we were older? Then we wouldn't have to wait so long.
What's
It's the
that?
Beach Boys.
Oh, the Beach Boys. I don't know the Beach Boys very well. And of course Gareth Bryn is so fucking bland that it's like it just slid off my brain like oil on water. I don't remember anything of what
I mean, he's
came to pass in his chapter.
It's like talking with a bunch of old dudes. And I just read a chapter about how men are disgusting. I don't want to read this chapter.
Yeah, he's just like trying to decide, maybe we should just let the White Cloaks take care of them, or maybe I could continue to drag this random force of men, retirees, with me to go look for these women who, again, did a crime and now left, and I could just leave it at that because
it wasn't really a crime.
It wasn't that big of a deal.
An accident.
It was, like, fine. But he's like, my God, can't handle
I'm
oath breakers.
So horny for this one lady. And since I also have no healthy expression of my own sexuality, I'm going to wage a quasi-war against her.
Yeah, and he's all like, oh, and I'm still all torn up about Morgoth kicking him out. I think this is our first, like, explicit indication of what happened. That she just was like, you have to leave, or because you're a traitor or something. And he was like, what the fuck? Fine. Well, I hope whatever happens with Gabriel happens. And it's like, great attitude.
Yeah, you fuckhead.
Gareth Bryn.
Fuck weasel.
I don't know. I mean, Gareth Bryn is gone already by the time Matt is in Camelin in book 3, right?
I think so.
It's just, you'd expect Gareth Bryn, who is supposedly an intelligent man, to take one look at Gabriel and be like, this is a weasel.
Mm-hmm.
And when Morgoth, a supposedly intelligent woman, does not also recognize that he's a weasel, he might think, something's wrong with this situation.
Yeah. Also, like, you would think that they're implied to be involved
Lovers.
in some way. That, and, like, you've also been, like, working with this woman, romantically involved with this woman for, like, a decade, at least, if not more. Like, you should know her pretty well, and when she's acting completely not like herself, you should have more of an indication that, like, something is rotten in the state of Denmark.
Yeah, and it's like one thing if you're like, okay, well then I can't do anything from here because this man has somehow accumulated all the power.
Mm-hmm.
But Gareth Bryn is just like, I guess I will just fuck off like she told me to.
Yeah, it's like the whole... There seems to be this running theme throughout the Fires of Heaven that a bunch of men find out that Morgoth is in danger and just decide that they're not going to do anything about it.
Yeah, like, cool, guys.
Yeah. What the fuck?
What's happening? What? What?
Everyone's just like, rip to Morgoth, but I've got better things to do.
Seriously, Gareth Bryn is like, rip to Morgoth, but I have to fuck the former Amerlin seat.
Yeah, I'm busy.
And Rand's like, rip to Morgoth, but I have to fuck her daughter eventually. And it's like, what is happening with this dumb continent?
I don't know. All the men are stupid.
What's happening?
I mean, everyone's stupid. The women are stupid, too.
It's just like, I feel like if someone told Matt, hey, Morgoth is being abused by this man, he'd be like, oh, I only met that lady once, but I will go set the building on fire.
Yeah.
Because I'm Matt Cathon and it's what I do. I'll hate it every step of the way, but I will do it.
Yeah. And yeah, and you like to think that, like, Edwene would do something similar.
Yeah.
You like to think.
And it's just such an odd departure from the, what's the word? equation that we're usually given in fantasy texts, where it is discovered that someone of some sort of importance, political or otherwise, is in danger, and everyone rushes to their aid.
Well, it also, like, really deviates from, like, I want to say ethos, but I don't know if that's right, of the first 3, or even, at least the first 3 books, where, like, there's very much, like, woman is in danger, boys feel like they need to rescue them. Like, Rand's like, Egg is being held by the Shanshin, and Matt's like, these 3 ladies are being held in the Stone of Tyr.
Yeah, like, it's just so rich for Rand, a person who hates it when women around him die, to be like, I will fully allow this woman to be raped, abused, for God knows how long.
Yeah.
Eventually, he thinks, murdered. This has been a downer of an episode. Yeah. I'm sorry about that, but also...
I also feel like we've talked about sexual assault a lot, so we should put, like, a content warning.
Yeah, content warning.
Can drop that somewhere.
I'll put it in the episode description, too.
Okay, that's great. Anyway, it's just like a downer episode because these are downer chapters.
Yeah, I'm hoping the next few sections will be a little more lighthearted. I mean, we are back with Nynaeve and Elaine, which carries its own set of baggage, but, like, then Glad shows up. And the circus.
Yeah, and then they're in a fucking circus.
Yeah, which is delightful.
And, yeah, this is before Glad goes completely
fascist.
Off the rails. Yeah.
Yeah, welcome to the Fires of Heaven. High points, low points.
I was really determined that I wasn't going to, like, not read the chapters any week. I was like, I'm going to read the chapters every week during the season.
These are 5. The 2 chapters to not read if you're going to take a break.
And then I was just like, I can't. I'm too weak. I'm too weak-willed.
So is Gareth Bryn. Okay. Thank you so much to Glenna Mackenzie for our theme song. I've neglected to thank her the last couple of weeks, and I keep meaning to do that. Thank you, Glenna. Thank you to all of you for listening. If this was a downer of an episode for you, I'm sorry, but we'll have some fun or content go on our Patreon. Mm-hmm. I'm usually just as angry on my blog, but hopefully in a funnier way. And our other podcast, We Don't Watch Outlander, is pretty funny. If you think it's amusing to watch me badly play a video game, then I'm doing that every Friday night at 5:30 p.m. and the stream remains on our Twitch channel for about a week afterward if you can't catch the live stream. Mm-hmm. Any housekeeping?
No.
Hope you're all staying well and staying safe and staying inside if that's possible for you. Woof. Hopefully, we'll soon be on the downward slope from this height of terror and horror.
Hopefully.
Yeah, hopefully this particular episode, these particular chapters, are parallel with the state of the world's terribleness. We can only hope.
Yeah, that this is the peak. This is our darkest hour.
Ugh.
Always darkest before the dawn. I can't think of the tune.
I can't either. It's always darkest.
That's closer than
shake
what
it off, shake it off. Thanks, Florence. Thanks, Mom.
I feel like I can't sign off because Becky coughing in the Chick-fil-A drive-thru was just so funny.
It was so sad. She was like, I'm so sorry.
And I just can imagine your poor mom so embarrassed.
Yeah. Then as soon as she pulled away, she was like, Emily! I scared her so bad. I was like, it's okay, Mom. Just get your chicken wrap.
Just go away. Make it as fast as you can.
End the transaction, Mom.
All
just
you
get
can
away.
do. Yeah.
She was like, anyway. All right.
Like, no matter when that happens, coughing right when someone's trying to take your order
so
would
terrible.
be horrifying. But just, Becky. God bless. Have a good week. Take good care.
Goodbye.